All right, so hi grade 2. Today we'll be reading our first story in the reading workshop, but before we start, let's go through the vocabulary words real quick. Okay, so we said that the word eerie means to have a strange or scary feeling about something, to feel scared or nervous about something. For example, the noise in the old barn gave me an eerie feeling. Okay? So eerie again means to have a scary feeling or real or strange feeling about something. Number 2, growth. Growth means something that is growing. Okay, growth comes from the word grow, which means that something is starting to grow or become bigger. I found a thick growth of ferns in the park. Okay. And number 3, layers. Layers means something to be put on top of each other. Okay, such as it was cold, so I wore 3 layers of clothing. That means it was because it was cold outside. I wore three clothes on top of each other, like 3 shirts on top of each other, like a shirt and a sweater and a jacket. Those are 3 layers. Also, layers. I bought a cake with 3 layers. So that means the cake had 3 cakes on. It had 3 cakes were on top of each other. Okay. Lively. Lively means to be active and to move a lot. The lively kitten played with a ball. That means the kitten liked to move and was very active. Location. Location means place. I think we all know this from social also. Okay, location is another word for place. I can find the location of my state on a map. Region. Region is a part of a land. Okay, as we said, for example, the United States is a very big country, so it's divided into different regions. Okay, we can also say the Arctic region is a very, very cold and snowy place. So the Arctic region means the Arctic part is of an area is very cold and snow. Seasons, we all know that there are 4 seasons in a year, and that in each season has their own weather. Okay, so seasons is what is the time of year with different climate. Seasons such as we have spring, summer, fall, and then winter. Temperate. Temperate means that the climate of a place is not too hot and not too cold. All right. So before we start the story, I just want you guys to remember that I just want to remind you where Alaska is. So this is a map of North America. Okay, and you guys know from social studies that North America is divided into 3 countries. In the north, we have Canada. In the middle, we have United States of America. And in the south, we have Mexico. So today's story is about Alaska. Okay, so in the middle part of the United States, we have 50 countries. And then I told you in class that 2 more states were added to the United States. So they are part of the United States of America. That's why there are 52 states now. We have the 51st state, Alaska, is up north and it borders Canada. So Alaska does not border or is not attached to United States. It's up next to Canada, but this state is part of America. And of course, we have Hawaii, the islands, the small islands in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, but today's story is about Alaska, and we read a story before about Alaska and about the sled dogs, and I wanted to remind you that Alaska is all the way up in the north, and the climate there is very cold. Okay, and it has a lot of snow, and that's why we read the story sled dogs before. when there is a sport or an activity that they do there, where the dogs pull sled and there's always a person who controls it. Like that's an activity that they do there. Okay, and the landform here is another map of the landforms found in North America. So I also want you to keep in mind that because Alaska is very cold, it also has mountains, and there's something called glaciers. Glaciers is like a big mountain of ice that moves, that moves slowly, okay? So Canada is known for having the highest mountain in North America. You'll also find it in Alaska, and it also has glaciers, and the climate is very cold there. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you. I wanted you to know the location of Alaska, that it's a state that belongs to the United States, and it's up in the north, and it has the highest mountain and has something called glaciers. Glacier is a mountain of a moving mountain of ice. Okay, all right, let's start on page 262. See, that's the first picture. That if you look here, you'll find a mountain, and here you'll find a glacier. Alaska, a special place. Okay. On page 263, where can you find mountains, glaciers, and volcanoes? Oh, we'll talk about volcanoes later on. Okay, so in Alaska, you can find mountains, glaciers, and volcano. Alaska is the location of you would visit. Alaska is the location you would visit. Alaska has different regions. In each part of the state, there are different features. So in Alaska, you can find mountains, you can find glaciers, moving mountains of ice, and volcanoes. A volcano is also like a mountain, but has a hole in it, and sometimes it can erupt, or hot lava can come out of it. Alaska is the location. Alaska is the place where you'll find all three landforms: mountains, glaciers, and volcanoes. Alaska has different regions. So Alaska has different parts, and we'll read about it later on. In each part of the state, there are different features. So because Alaska has different parts, you'll find different features or different things about each part, which we'll also read about as we go on. Land features. So now this is the subheading that tells us what we'll read about in this paragraph. The land features, the landforms found in Alaska. The tallest mountain in the United States is in Alaska. It's called Mount McKinley. Some people go to Alaska just to climb it. So the tallest mountain in the United States, it's found in the state of Alaska. And the name of this mountain is called Mount McKinley. MT is an abbreviation. If you guys remember what an abbreviation is, to make a big word shorter by writing the first letter in capital letter and a letter from the word. We usually take the last letter, but here Mount is the abbreviation of mountain. We capitalized the first letter, and then we took T, okay, from the word mountain, and we put a period to make the word shorter. So this is abbreviation for mountain. McKinley. Some people go to Alaska just to climb Mount McKinley. Alaska has the biggest glaciers in all of the United States. Glaciers are made when one layer of snow falls on top of another. The snowfalls become very thick. It turns to ice. The growth of glaciers takes many years to form. So here we said that you can find mountains in Alaska, and the highest mountain in North America is found in the state of Alaska. And what is the name of this mountain? It's called Mount McKinley. What else can you find in Alaska? Glaciers. What are glaciers? Glaciers are mountains of ice. How were they formed? Okay, so remember, it's very cold there. So when there's a lot of snow. When snow falls, they fall on top of each other. They start to form piles. Okay, so when they start to form piles on top, they become layer of snow over another layer of snow over another layer of snow, and it starts to form like a mountain. When then the snowfall becomes very thick, becomes thick, and then what happens to the snow? It turns to ice. The snow becomes very thick and turns into ice, and it takes many years for a glacier to be formed. Okay, it doesn't form, the glacier does not form in a very short time. It takes many years. Okay, so this is a glacier. As you can see, it's a mountain of ice that moves slowly. And does it take a short time to form a glacier? No, it takes a very long time, many years for glaciers to form. Okay, how did it form? Form from snowfall. When the snow falls, it falls on top of each other until it forms several layers, and then it becomes thick and then turns to ice. Here, as you can see, is a map of Alaska. Okay, it says Alaska here, and from the map key that you can see that the star here is the capital. The wavy lines are rivers. I see 2 rivers here in Alaska now. Mountains, you see there are mountains up in the north region, and there are also mountains in the south region. Volcanoes, where can we find volcanoes? We can find volcanoes in the southwest. 1, 2, 3, there are some volcanoes here in the southwest of Alaska. Okay, and so this is also a new text feature found in expository text. We've taken many. We've taken chart, we've taken sidebars, photo and captions, subheading, bar graph. This time we have a map. So a map can also be a text feature. Okay, temperature change. Okay, so this subheading tells you that this paragraph will tell you about the temperature of Alaska. Alaska has different temperatures. Northern Alaska is called the Arctic region. Okay, that's, you took it in science, where the polar bears live and the penguins, and here you'll find walrus. And temperature are much colder than inside your freezer. The ground, lakes, and rivers are almost all frozen. So, as we mentioned before, Alaska has different regions. So in the northern region, which it's called the Arctic region, it's very cold. The temperature is very low, so it's very cold, and almost everything there is frozen. Ground, lakes, rivers, everything there is frozen. As a result, most people live in the south. That's why most of the people that live in Alaska live in the southern region of Alaska. It is warmer there. Crops grow well in the rich soil. So where do the people live? Most people in Alaska live? They live in the southern part. Why? The temperature there is higher, so it's warmer, and the crops, they can grow fruits and vegetables there because the soil also is rich. So they have better, warmer temperature in the south, and the soil is rich where they can plant and grow crops. The next paragraph is about animals. Alaska has many different animals. You may spot a walrus or a polar bear among the glaciers. Whoa. You can see black or brown bear fishing in a river or stream. In another region, you can see a moose or a caribou. Okay, and we just mentioned before we also read a story about bears, and we read that most bears are found in North America, such as the brown and black bear, and now we found out that also we know that the polar bear lives in the Arctic region. In the cold region, you will find northern region, you'll find the walrus. These are pictures of walruses, and polar bears. We all know what a polar bear is, because they like to live among the cold climate and among the glaciers. You can also find black and brown bears fishing in the river or stream. Okay, what other animals can you find? You can find a moose. A moose is like a big deer with large elks, and a caribou is also a kind of deer. which I'll show you a picture of. I had a picture, I think I deleted it, I'm sorry. Okay, so these are some of the animals that you can find there. Daylight and darkness. Okay, let's see what the seasons are like there. Remember, Alaska's all the way up in the north. The seasons are special here too. In summer, people celebrate the mild, temperate weather. So in summer, the temperature is temperate. Temperate means not too hot and not too cold. Okay, in summer we usually have very hot and sunny weather, but there they have temperate, which is not too hot and not too cold. These lively people also celebrate the sunlight because the sun does not set for many days. In one village, the sun doesn't set for more than 80 days. You might be in bed and still see the sun shining. Okay, so we said that the seasons are special in Alaska. In summer, the people love the weather there because they have temperate climate. The weather there is not too hot and not too cold. What else is special there? These people are very active people. They like to do activities. So what else do they celebrate? They celebrate the sunlight because sometimes they would have sunlight for most of the day. It doesn't turn dark. It says in one village, they had sunlight for more than 80 days. Like even if they would go to bed, the sun would still be outside. You might be in bed and still see the sun. In winter, the sun doesn't rise in some places in Alaska. In winter, it's different. Sometimes the sun doesn't even shine in Alaska. In some parts, not the whole region, not the whole country, state, only in certain places. These places have more than 60 days of winter darkness. So in some places in Alaska, in winter they do not see any sun. In summer, there are some places that the sun does not set. They can have sunlight all day, all 24 hours. Okay? For almost 80 days back to back. But in winter, they can have 60 days of no sunlight at all. You can have afternoon soccer practice in the dark. Okay? They say that you can go to school and have soccer practice. They can practice a sport and the day in the dark. You might think this would be eerie. For us, it might be scary to think of something like this, to not have sunlight or not to have the sun to set. But Alaskans don't think this is weird. They are used to the dark winter days. Alaska is a very interesting place to live. Okay, so for us, it would be scary or be strange for us to hear about days that they don't have any sunlight or days that they don't have any dark nights. But for Alaskan people who live in Alaska, this is normal and they think it's an interesting place for them to live. Okay, so I want you to go back to the story and try to find 3 things that make Alaska very interesting. For me, I would think that the seasons here are very strange. Like for example, the sunlight. This would be very strange for me or interesting for me to see, to have sunlight all day in summer, or in winter to have a completely dark day. Also, it would be nice to see glaciers. I've never seen glaciers. This is something I would like to see one day. And what else? What other interesting thing? The animals. Here they have animals that we don't usually see. They have walruses, polar bears, black bears, moose, and caribou. I've never seen a moose or a caribou before. No, I've seen a moose. I've never seen a caribou. Okay? That's it. Okay, guys. What else? So, the skill for this week is to compare. Compare and contrast. Compare means to say how things are the same or alike and how things are different. Okay, we learned how to do this before using a chart. This is something else you can use to compare and contrast. This is called a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram is like 2 rings that go through each other. On one side, we write the differences, how the Mount McKinley is different from a glacier, and in the middle where they meet, we write how they are the same. Okay, so if we were to do this, here it wrote Mount McKinley. Mount McKinley is a mountain in where people like to go and climb. Okay, but a glacier is a mountain of ice, and I don't think people would like to climb a mountain of ice because also it can be soft, you can fall. But maybe people can go and do activities there like skiing or something. Okay, how can they be similar? What are some similarities? They are both high landforms. They are both in Alaska, right? Both landforms are high landforms. Both landforms are found in Alaska. What else? Let's go back and read. If you forgot, let's go back and read. We can also say the differences. This is made out of rocks and this is made out of ice. This is a difference, right? We can also say they are both in North America. This is similarity between them. Okay, so we wrote 3 features here and 2 features of how they are different for each. Okay, and as we said, the story is an expository text. It explains to us about a real place. It gives us real facts about a real place called Alaska. It explains to us the landforms and the climate of Alaska and the interesting details about the seasons. It has photos, real photos of the places in Alaska. It has subheadings, and it has a new text feature called map. Okay, and that's it for today. See you in the next video.